Not long left, is there, Gonzo?
No, it's quite sad, really. Well, it's very sad, very sad.
Why do you support West Ham?
It was my dad, as is, I think, is the case, but I know is the case with you as well. My memory of supporting, I knew West Ham because we grew up in a West Ham area. I grew up in Gants Hill, which is not far from here, and it was a 1980 Cup final, and I remember being dropped off at my nan's house because Dad was going to the game, and I remember watching it on telly. And my mum and my nan encouraging me to really get into the game and very much telling me, this is your team, which I was 6 at the time. And we won the cup. That was my first ever real sort of awareness of West Ham, was us winning a trophy, and we've not won one since, God.
Yeah, I obviously grew up in Scotland and still live in Scotland. My dad supported West Ham. And I think he was a bit of a glory hunter in the 80s, actually. And I think he took on West Ham because of the style they played with. And up there, I am still the only West Ham fan I know, and I grew up at school surrounded by Man United fans. And it was difficult because they were winning everything. Everybody was Man U except me. I was West Ham. We were going through relegation when I was at school as well.
So you got the mickey taken out, yeah?
Yeah, big time. But I don't know. The club's now going somewhere that I could start to take the mickey out of some other people. But what's your first memory as a West Ham fan in the ground?
Well, unbelievably, my first ever game here was in 1983, and I was sat right over there. And of course, that's pretty much where it's all decked out now, isn't it, for all the Liverpool fans? They're going to bring loads by the looks of it. But that was what we used to call the old North Bank, and it was standing, and I was pretty much right behind the goal, and we won 10-0.
You don't see that anymore, do you?
You certainly don't. It was in the Milk Cup, and it was against Bury. And funny enough, we went and signed their centre-back afterwards, even though we beat them 10-0, and we missed a penalty. And I'll never forget it, because a kid that came in, I was so wide-eyed. It was the Milk Cup, which is the now League Cup, and they had a huge, right there on the centre spot, they had a huge, giant bottle of milk. It was, yeah, it's funny how the things, stand out in your mind. What about you? What was your first game?
I don't know. I remember bits and pieces of it, but I was only 4, so I was back in '93. But I remember I was in the Boleyn Moor stand, because I remember the view. And I haven't actually sat in the Boleyn Moor stand until I was there this season. I hadn't been back to Boleyn Moor. I'd been trying to experience all parts of the ground, if you like. But it was almost emotional sitting in there this season, thinking that's where I was when I was 4 years old for my first ever West Ham game. But my mum and dad brought me down. They made sure I was West Ham, and I think it's the type of thing you pass on to your kids, don't you?
Well, I have, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I've done the same with my daughter, and she's not into football too much, but I'll make sure she's West Ham. But what's your favourite moment? That's your first moment, but is there one, if you had to pick a moment that you've experienced at Upton Park live, what would it be?
It's going to seem really, really obscure, but it was actually, again, I was sat over there. I felt like I spent my life sort of sat behind that goal. Funny enough, that was the first time I ever heard anybody swear as well. And there was a young boy, and he swore in front of his dad. I thought, oh, you can't say that. And I looked up to my dad to think it was okay, and it had sort of totally passed him by. And I realised actually he was sort of in an environment where people were going to swear and curse. A young boy swore at Neville Southall, who was a fantastic goalkeeper, the Everton goalkeeper, and that really stuck in my brain. As I say, it's actually things like how when you first come in and the floodlights are on, and how green the grass is, how bright it was. You've never really, as a child, seen so many people all together at once. It's the smell of the hot dog stand. I've got great memories of plenty of people, Stuart Slater running down that wing, McAvenny, Cotty. I remember we played Everton. My dad turned around to me and he said Cotty wants a transfer to Everton. He's going to play really well. And from the kickoff, he basically ran past the Everton team and almost scored a goal. And he was really up for it. But as I say, it's all the other stuff. It's the small stuff. It's the flats up there, the people hanging off the balconies trying to catch a glimpse of the game. And it's really just, as I say, the sights, the smells. It's really the small stuff that you miss, really.
Yeah, I remember being way up there. I was with my dad when we played Ipswich in the second leg of the semi-final of the playoff. And my dad was scraping around for tickets, and he got us a couple of tickets for my birthday. Every birthday and Christmas I used to get tickets for West Ham. Every year that was my presents, or the kit. It was one of the two. I remember being up there. Christian Daly, the Scotsman, Christian Daly poked home the winner. He stabbed it in, and I was celebrating. And once everything died down, my dad had disappeared. You know, he was rose away.
Sure.
I was,
Swept away on a wave of celebration.
for the first time ever, I think I was separated from my dad in a strange place, and there was no fear.
No.
I felt comfortable. My dad had disappeared. I don't know where he was. There was a moment of shock as to where my dad's gone, but once I've seen him, you feel at home here, don't you? It's you cannot explain to non-West Ham fans. I don't think you can explain it to them what this place means. West Ham fans understand it, but do you think the Boleyn ground is almost special compared to every other ground there is?
Yeah, but you're gonna because you're a West Ham fan, aren't you? It does have those memories. I mean, for me, just, you know, coming from around the corner, growing up, I mean, unlike yourself, you said you were growing up with Man U fans and that. Basically, in my school, you were either a West Ham fan, there were some Tottenham fans, which is why I still sort of carry such a dislike for them to this day, and you'd get the odd one or two Liverpool fans because they were real glory hunters because they were very, very successful, obviously back then, but it really felt like a community club, and it really felt like part of it. And also the players used to come to our school. I went to school in Newbury Park, and you'd see Jeff Hurst, you'd see Alvin Martin would come down, Billy Bonds, you'd Trevor Brooking, who's obviously on the banner up there. I remember the FA Cup being brought to the school. Can you imagine that now, being in a school and having a trophy brought round and having your photo taken with it? And I mean, it was just a
Community club.
it is, but you've got all that nostalgia now, and but you know what? The new stadium, which we're going to go and
Well, do you think it's time?
yeah, I think we should go to the reservation centre.
Well, it's time for us to go get our season tickets anyway, so let's go to Stratford.
Let's go.